The Winter Guard has only been around a few years, but before they were the Winter Guard, they were the Soviet super soldiers, and their story is decades old. Let's talk about Winter Guard. Thanks for watching JLS Comics. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I upload videos just like this every single week. Alright, let's jump into our story. And this story begins not there in the recent past, but during the 1940s, in the midst of World War II and the nascent days of the Cold War. The Soviet Union had formalized its own answer to the Allies' super soldier programs, which produced the famous Captain America and a whole host of other powered individuals. The Soviet response began in Soviet Russia when Alexei, who was a factory worker, very publicly saved a woman and her child from a burning building using a Soviet hammer and sickle flag as protection. Joseph Stalin saw the heroic event unfold on television, and right after this he sent Alexei to their super soldier program, and through that Alexei became the very first Red Guardian. During those early days, he even teamed up with Captain America, Patriot, the Spirit of 76 to fight Red Skull. He even got his own answer to Bucky, a sidekick who used the name Proletariat. While this was happening publicly, the Soviet Union in fact had in operation a plethora of programs and projects which were both government-sponsored and privately funded, both unclassified and highly classified. Programs like the Wolf Spider Experiment, the Black Widow program at the Red Room Academy, to the Winter Soldier program and the Soviet Super Soldier program, which produced other characters like the Deadly Omega Red and Epsilon Red. Many of these programs were splinter projects whose goal was to mirror, foil, or outright steal what America was doing with their own operations. One of these programs was headed up by a Soviet scientist specializing in physics named Anton Vanko, no relation to the Vankos of Whiplash fame. With help from his assistant Alexander Nevsky, Vanko built the headgear used by Milos Vasaryk, a KGB field operative using the codename Unicorn. Vanko also created a powerful armored exosuit that he colored red to highlight his mother Russian pride. Vanko took the suit and on orders from his own government headed off to fight Iron Man and interfered with Stark Industries' production. While Vanko abandoned his laboratory, the administrator of a labor camp in Siberia named Boris Bolsky forced scientists from the camp to build another set of armor, and this is how he became Titanium Man. Sergei Krylov was another scientist in the Soviet Union, a nuclear physicist from Minsk. Sergei had two children that were taken from him and run through the new Russian government mutant protocols. These children were Lenya and Nikolai, two mutants who would later become Darkstar and Vanguard. Darkstar is one of the characters who draws her power from a realm called the Dark Force Dimension, just like others in Marvel Comics like Darkhawk, Cloak, Spot, possibly Nightcrawler, and Mr. Negative. A Russian test pilot named Alexei Shostakov came on the radar of the KGB during the 1950s. They set Alexei up with a Red Room agent, a Black Widow named Natasha Romanoff, and the two married. Later, because Lebedev died, the KGB selected Alexei to be the next Red Guardian. The KGB, though, had to tell Black Widow that he died, separating the lovers from each other. It was Nikita Khrushchev himself that informed Natasha of the accident at the Cosmodrome, which they pretended took Shostakov's life. Their new agent was given the same de-aging serum that they gave out at the Red Room, and Alexei went out on various missions, running into Avengers over the years. In one confrontation, he was killed in battle, but in truth, he'd survived and gone to ground. But back to Stalin. Sensing an imminent threat to his power as the reality of mutants rose around the globe, Stalin ordered Wolfgang Heinrich to come up with a genocidal program to capture mutants, test their powers, and dispose of the mutants within his country. The original Red Guardian had died opposing this very program. After years of state-sponsored murder of its own citizens, a professor named Peter Phobos submitted research to the Soviet government explaining how he could nurture and train these young Russian mutants to become lethal field operatives instead of killing them off. So instead of killing them, the genocide program was shuttered and young mutants were instead funneled through Professor Phobos' research program, dubbed the Soviet Super Soldier Program, also called Super Soldier School. Another mutant sent to Professor Phobos was Mikhail Ursa. At graduation, Phobos gave a hammer and sickle to Nikolai and said his new name is Vanguard. He gave an amulet to Lenya, saying it could control her Dark Force manifestations, and said her name was now Darkstar. And to Mikhail, he dubbed him Ursa Major and said his gift is leadership. When Sergei Krylov's kids were taken from him, Sergei was working at a nuclear power plant where he caused a massive meltdown. And the nuclear meltdown gave a neurosurgeon named Tanya Belinsky the ability to change into radioactive energy, and with Red Guardian still believed dead, she took on the moniker temporarily for herself, becoming the third Red Guardian. The accident also turned Sergei into an energy manipulator, and he changed his name to Presence. And Presence teamed up with this new female Red Guardian and went after the American superhero team called Defenders. In one story, Dr. Stephen Strange called Tanya and requested her neurosurgeon skills to help treat Nighthawk. When she got to America, she quietly told Doctor Strange that she wanted to defect. And after the surgery, he told her he convinced her handler Kozlov to let her stay in the United States for a while, joining with the Defenders for a brief stint. And Tanya would later take on the name Starlight. They had a battle with Sergei, whom they all thought was dead, but he was alive and in the Forbidden Zone. Instead of fighting and killing Iron Man, Ivan Vanko also defected to America, where he began working for Tony Stark. Not happy with this and losing their tech, the KGB activated an agent from the Red Room, their Black Widow program, to go after Vanko. Black Widow took another agent named Boris Turgenev with her for the mission. Turgenev took the armored exosuit Crimson Dynamo and became the second person to wear the moniker. Ivan Vanko died in the battle saving Iron Man as he shot and killed Turgenev as well. It was then Alexei Nevsky's turn to take on the Crimson Dynamo mantle. The problem was that Nevsky was associated with a defector now, and so he had to go into hiding. But he hated Stark for the death of his friend Vanko, and yet he couldn't turn him in. Nevsky took on the name Alex Niven and started working for Cord Industries, as it was owned by the family of Tony Stark's girlfriend, Janice Cord. And at Cord Industries, Alex built a new, upgraded, and more deadly version of the Crimson Dynamo armor. The KGB ultimately found Alex and sent Titanium Man to kill him, but Titanium Man ended up killing Janice Cord instead. Later, Alex defected to Vietnam, but the KGB assassinated him anyway and took his armor. Yuri Petrovich was the next to be Crimson Dynamo. Yuri was the son of Black Widow's friend Ivan Petrovich. Yuri was trained by the KGB to be an assassin and given the Crimson battlesuit, which he was ordered to use to kill Black Widow and Ivan. To form a team, he brought together his girlfriend Darkstar along with Titanium Man and a couple of American heroes like Griffin and Rampage. Yuri fought with Black Widow and her new team called the Champions. But Yuri went insane, and so Darkstar teamed up with the Champions in order to help stop Yuri. After he was defeated, Yuri was apprehended by the Soviet government and put on trial, but he escaped and the Winter Soldier had to hunt him and his stolen Dynamo suit down. Ultimately, he was recaptured and sent to a labor camp. Darkstar ended up joining the Champions for a short while, along with Angel, Black Widow, Ghost Rider, Iceman, and Hercules, going after villains like Doctor Doom, MODOK, and his AIM organization. With Yuri Petrovich off the board, the KGB gave the Crimson Dynamo armor to a KGB agent named Dmitry Bukharin. Dmitry joined the Soviet super soldiers along with Vanguard, and this new team fought with Jack of Hearts and Iron Man, but then ended up helping them fight an alien colonizer race called the Rigelians in a battle which took place on the moon. Crimson Dynamo along with Darkstar and Vanguard were then tricked into attacking Spider-Man and the Hulk as they were falsely told by General Nikolai Kutsov that the US was about to launch a preemptive nuclear strike. Now, with a few missions under their belt, the team formalized into an official team. They were now officially the Soviet Super Soldiers. Their handler, Brevlov, revealed that Ursa Major would also join the team, and so he was reunited with his former schoolmates. Their first mission was to go to a radioactive contamination zone to stop Presence and Tanya and prevent the radiation from spreading. And there they ran into the Hulk and fought with Presence and Tanya as Red Guardian, and then learned that Phobos, who was also there, wanted the radiation to spread to create more mutants so he could steal their powers. It was revealed to be an energy parasite. They smashed the tools Phobos gave them because they were energy drains. After the battle with Phobos, Tanya Belinsky as Red Guardian, along with Presence, decided to leave Earth since the radiation levels were too high and too unsafe for those who were close to them because they had absorbed the nuclear energy from the spill site. So they ended up flying into space and ended up on Laboratory World as test subjects to the Stranger. This is when Tanya changed her name from Red Guardian to Starlight. And later, Starlight took off with Presence and Jack of Hearts to go back to Earth, though Presence ended up being trapped in the Quantum Zone by Quasar. During Marvel's first event book, Contest of Champions, the Soviet super soldiers were some of the Marvel roster brought in for the fight, and they were forced to fight Red Ghost. At one point, Colossus was called away from the X-Mansion to assist Darkstar, Ursa Major, Vanguard, and Crimson Dynamo in Russia. Kitty Pryde and Wolverine were following them and Crimson Dynamo attacked, while Darkstar told Colossus he'd be deputized into the Soviet super soldiers. Kitty Pryde phased into their plane, but Vanguard blasted her, and when Kitty seemingly died at a nuclear power plant, Wolverine went berserk on the Soviet super soldiers, battling Ursa Major, who was with the team but was still a cadet, not a full-fledged member yet. It turns out that this was a facility where the Soviet government was testing mutants, and 8 of them were fused together into one fiery being named the Supreme Soviet. And they all had to work together to save each other and, in fact, the surrounding town from the radiation spill. Then the Soviet super soldiers fought Kondraty Toplov, aka Gremlin. And then they ran into and fought with Rom the Space Knight and Starshine. They all had to then team up to fight the evil Dire Wraiths. After the fight, the team ended up as allies of Gremlin, and they all teamed up together to take over a Diorite base and establish it as headquarters for the Soviet super soldiers. Not long after this, the Soviet super soldiers were hunting for Magneto and ran into both the X-Men and the Avengers, and during that battle, they discovered that Dmitri, Crimson Dynamo, was still loyal to the KGB, and so he was kicked off the team. Joseph Petkus ended up being the fourth character to take on the name Red Guardian, though he'd go by Steel Guardian for a brief amount of time. This Red Guardian led a government-loyal team called the Supreme Soviets, which also now included Crimson Dynamo, and an illusionist, a powerful sorceress named Fantasia. Later, Vanguard, Darkstar, and Ursa Major decided to leave, attempting to defect to America. The trio went to Avengers Island, but instead ran into the Supreme Soviets. Crimson Dynamo was now with the Supreme Soviets, ended up fighting with his old allies. Ursa Major, Darkstar, and Vanguard, while comatose, used their minds to combine and form one great beast in order to take the Supreme Soviet's life force, but Captain America ended up stopping them before they could. Then Ursa Major, Darkstar, and Vanguard joined a team called Exiles, a team later renamed Cyberforce. A colonel in the Soviet army named Valentin Shatilov was able to get the Crimson Dynamo armor from Bukharin, and he used it to form a group called Remont 4, a group loyal to the idea of Stalinism. And Remont 4 attacked the Soviet super soldiers. Then the Soviet government sent the Supreme Soviets after the defectors, and then attacked, and Fantasia stayed on with the team even as the Supreme Soviets changed their name to the People's Protectorate. The People's Protectorate was Joseph Petkus as Red Guardian, Dmitri as Crimson Dynamo, along with Phantasma or Fantasia, Perrin, who's the Slavic god of thunder and lightning, and a synthezoid named Vostok. In another story, Black Widow and Darkstar were reunited. The Presence had sent his agent Starlight to take them down and bring the two ladies to him. So Starlight ended up fighting with Darkstar and Black Widow, and defeated, she had to go back to Presence empty-handed. In Incredible Hulk issue 393, the People's Protectorate were looking for a guy named Igor Drenkov when their ship was attacked and they ran into a team called Pantheon. Igor, though, was with the Hulk at the Los Diablos missile base site as he'd found himself there originally to steal secrets. Crimson Dynamo and the team ended up above the base and they battled with Hulk and Rick Jones as they tried to recover Igor and fight off Pantheon. In the 1991 adjectiveless X-Men title, Darkstar was with a priest, another exile, known as Blind Faith. They were in a Siberian oil rig town that had been affected by Soul Skinner. The Russians couldn't let People's Protectorate operate on home soil, so they dispatched Omega Red to go after Soul Skinner. Meanwhile, the X-Men had come to the tiny snow-filled town to do their own investigation, and then the People's Protectorate joined up with Alpha Flight and the Avengers to fight against the Star Blasters. And in the fight, Vanguard was felled in battle. After Vanguard died, Presence and Darkstar, Vanguard's father and sister, decided to go after Quasar to kill him for revenge because he was the one that had sent them on the mission. And at the end of the battle, I think they have successfully murdered Quasar. And Quasar let them think that so that they would stop going after him, but he was very much alive. He just decided to leave Earth for a while. Later, General Sakharov, the Snow Wolf, manipulated the team into attacking. Vanguard and Ursa Major were looking for Darkstar, who was still missing. And it was Daredevil and Black Widow who uncovered Sakharov's evil plan, Sakharov, who was the one holding Darkstar prisoner. But then the Cold War ended and the globe changed. After the fall of the Soviet Union, when people like Cold Warrior and Omega Red were put in the ice in the early part of the 90s, the name Soviet Super Soldiers was no longer relevant. So after a brief stint on the sidelines, Kurt Busiek revitalized the team in late 1998. The People's Protectorate and Cyberforce were combined to form a new team that they called Winter Guard. And Winter Guard first appeared in the 9th issue of the new Iron Man series. There, Iron Man was injured and on the hunt for the Mandarin, and as he flew over the Ural Mountains, he stumbled across a massive battle. The Russian army and the Winter Guard were facing off against an army of Mandarin's mercenaries. Iron Man saw the new team made up of Red Guardian, Vanguard, Darkstar, Vostok, Phantasma, Cybercat, and a guy named Power Surge, whom they'd met back in Avengers 324 after he was stuck in a nuclear meltdown containment suit. Red Guardian told Iron Man that he changed his name to Steel Guardian, saying the government found his old name no longer appropriate. Steel Guardian and Vanguard fought each other over their loyalties to party and to country. So Black Widow, who was also there, called in the Avengers, and they all went to Mandarin's massive dragon-shaped ship to rescue Iron Man. Winter Guard was seen next near Irkutsk, fighting off a deadly sandstorm, kicked up into the air by Crimson Cowl and the Masters of Evil. Then Gambit and the X-Men were in Russia, and they were attacked by a brainwashed Darkstar. They defeated her and helped her out of the amnesic state she was in, and she took them to Rebirth Island to fight a villain named Black Death. In the 1998 run on Avengers, while King the Conqueror came to Earth to enslave it in order to protect the future, the Presence also attacked with his undead army. The Avengers went to Siberia to investigate and found a fallen Darkstar who warned them of the impending attack from Presence and Starlight. It was revealed that the Presence turned to his energy form and entered the body of the still undead Vanguard to revive him. Presence turned the entire team and later some of the Avengers into radioactive undead soldiers who attacked Thor and Firebird. Thor was about to kill Presence when Starlight said don't kill him, she could use her power to restore the Winter Guard to life. They won that battle, but they still had a Kang War to deal with. In New X-Men, Darkstar became a part of X Corporation and she ended up possessed by a Weapons Plus project called Weapon 12. Phantom X, Weapon 13 went after Weapon 12, the Huntsman, but the fight took Darkstar's life. In 2003's Crimson Dynamo series, a guy named Gennady Gavrilov found a second suit of armor made by Anton Vanko, and when he donned it, he became Crimson Dynamo number 8. But this was short-lived as he fought with the Russian army. Alexei, the Red Guardian, by this time was alone and commanding considerable power in Russia in a self-imposed near exile. He had Madame Hydra, for example, released from a Bulgarian prison. When he did this, it put him on the radar of S.H.I.E.L.D., and so Nick Fury sent Black Widow to confront him, although she was really surprised he was seemingly back from the dead. Then during an event called Secret Invasion, Darkstar and Crimson Dynamo watched as War Machine single-handedly destroyed a group of Skrull warships. The three of them then blasted the Armada to scrap metal, defying orders. Another life model decoy appeared in 2008's She-Hulk series. This LMD was called Anton, and he took on the nom de guerre Red Guardian, becoming the 6th to do so. He didn't last long though, as he would later be beheaded by a dire wraith. Darkstar was still dead, but in 2008's X-Force series, Selene resurrected her to serve in her army of the undead. And then in 2008, Thunderbolt Ross, Doc Samson, and She-Hulk ran into a new Winter Guard made up of Red Guardian, Darkstar, Crimson Dynamo, and Ursa Major. These were new people wearing old names. Boris Vadim was now Crimson Dynamo, and Sasha Rorik was the second Darkstar. The Darkstar who was still dead, though, appeared in Incredible Hercules, as Hercules toured an area of Hades where the deceased await processing and gamble, literally, for salvation. In 2009's Hulk issue 14, Crimson Dynamo joined up with Deadpool, Elektra, Thundra, and the Punisher to form a new team that they called Code Red. In 2008's Invisible Iron Man, Vadim let Tony Stark use his Crimson Dynamo armor instead of the Iron Man armor. In Hulk Winter Guard, the team fought against Presence once more. This team was Sasha as Darkstar along with Anton the Red Guardian, Ursa Major, and Boris as Crimson Dynamo. One of Presence's creatures ate Crimson Dynamo, and he died. That's when Galina Nemirovsky inherited the role as the next Crimson Dynamo. Sasha started to overexert her Darkstar abilities. She started to lose control. Winter Guard were dispatched to fight Iron Maiden and the Remont 6, successors to Remont 4, who were Soviet revolutionaries that were assaulting an AIM facility. Darkstar, still losing her control, showed up at the scene and went insane, turning into a massive amorphous blob of Dark Force energy. So Red Guardian had to kill Sasha to stop her. So the Winter Guard's handler gave the Darkstar amulet to Rena Stansioff, and she became the third Darkstar. Then Iron Man was trained for killing an entire village, a village that was home to Whiplash. So Red Guardian and Dynamo were dispatched to Montana to arrest him and bring him in to stand trial. And then in Age of Heroes, Blue Marvel watched the Winter Guard fight with Hyperion in Uzbekistan, but then Blue Marvel also showed up to fight Hyperion as the Winter Guard were defeated. Rena ended up falling in battle with a dire wraith when a dire wraith stabbed her and stole the amulet from her body. And in possession of the amulet, the dire wraith was transformed into the first Darkstar who had been trapped inside the very amulet for all those years. This is where Fantasia was revealed to be a dire wraith queen and was now aligned with the Presence to fight Winter Guard. This is where Anton, Red Guardian, was decapitated and his head was put in storage. Nikolai as Vanguard also died in the dire wraith attack, but he was resurrected, and then he took up the mantle of Red Guardian, and he led the Winter Guard. In 2011's Widowmaker series, a life model decoy of Alexei was killing spies, although instead of Red Guardian, he was now going by Ronin. This mission brought him into a fight with both Black Widow and Mockingbird. Winter Soldier was sent to a gulag where Yuri Petrovich, the guy he'd captured years ago, and Ursa Major were being held prisoner. Bucky was forced to fight a series of prisoners in cage matches, which included both Ursa and Boris Bulsky. Then the team was dispatched to arrest Red Ghost and the Intelligentsia, but they were blasted into space by the Intelligentsia's Zero Cannon. Later, Iron Man ran into Galina in her new upgraded Dynamo armor, where she was now calling herself Ultra Dynamo and working for Mandarin, and Mandarin had sent Ultra Dynamo after Iron Man. Then a Russian spy network called Sickle dispatched Winter Guard to stop a guy from the saber-tooth-led X-Force team named Warpath. In 2018's Avengers series, Ursa Major was finally let out of the gulag with a full pardon. The Russian Executive Security Committee had new work for the Winter Guard, with Red Widow serving as their mysterious cloaked handler. The team was sent to link up with the Avengers to fight against Namor. Vostok, Chernobog, Red Widow, and Perrin joined Vanguard, Ursa, Darkstar, and Dynamo, but the Winter Guard ended up battling the Avengers instead of Namor. Very soon they found themselves guarding the border of Russia and Ukraine from vampire attack. And Dracula showed up because he had lost his throne to Shadow Colonel and his Legion of the Unliving. Winter Guard kept Dracula in a secure prison with Winter Guard on guard. Shadow King attacked the prison and took out Winter Guard, but Blade came in and beheaded Shadow King. And the Avengers left, and the Winter Guard dumped Dracula in the Chernobyl Forbidden Zone. Then they had to fight a bunch of Phoenix-empowered Avengers in Moscow. By 2018's Tales of Suspense series, Ursa Major was now part of the Black Widow program, which had managed to clone Black Widow after Hydra Cap killed her. After a while, Black Widow was sent after Red Guardian, and she arrested her former husband, and he was put in S.H.I.E.L.D. custody until S.H.I.E.L.D. was disbanded. So Yelena Belova broke into the S.H.I.E.L.D. black site to break Red Guardian out, even as he still pined for the quote-unquote glory days of Stalin's Mother Russia. Red Guardian teamed up with Viper, Weeping Lion, Snapdragon, and Arcade to brainwash Black Widow into happiness so they could take that happiness right back away from her. Then Viper's team killed Black Widow's husband and her baby. Viper shot at Black Widow, but Red Guardian took the round at his shoulder, saying he was there to protect her all along, so she ended up letting him go. And that's how we leave the Winter Guard, Red Guardian, and our story in the summer of 2021. But Marvel recently announced a new 4-issue Winter Guard miniseries, which will see Red Guardian and the White Widow on the run from the Kremlin. And the series is set to release to comic book stores a month after the release of the Black Widow movie, giving it an August 2021 release date. And that is when the story will continue. Until then, that's a wrap on this, my friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and you'll be one of the first to know when I upload videos just like this each and every week. I'm Jesse, this is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.